The Concordat delegation retreated to their ship in a state of diplomatic confusion that none had experienced in their centuries-long careers. Inside the vessel's strategic chamber, holographic displays showed replays of the human response from multiple angles as synapsychologists and cultural analysts frantically searched for hidden meanings they must have missed. Perhaps there was a translation error, suggested Junior Ambassador Pelaraxi, her feathered crest flattened against her skull in distress. No species has ever declined initial membership. The benefits are too obvious to reject. Ambassador Exeltorix paced the chamber, his translucent skin cycling through colors indicating deep perturbation. The translation was perfect. I verified it through 3 separate systems. He paused before the central display showing Secretary General Okafor's calm, confident expression. They understood exactly what we offered and chose to decline. The ship's tactical advisor, a silicon-based intelligence from the Rigel system, extended crystalline appendages toward the data streams. Analysis suggests no deception in their physiological responses. They appeared genuinely uninterested in full integration. Science officer Ziv Nera manipulated the holographic controls, focusing on the human representatives' expressions during the offer presentation. Look at their reactions when we displayed the medical technology that would extend their lifespans by centuries. Their vital signs indicated interest, even excitement, yet they still declined. Could they be testing us? Asked communications specialist Hruntor, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the shifting displays. Perhaps this is some form of negotiation strategy we haven't encountered before. Ambassador Exeltorix considered this possibility. In 50,000 years of diplomatic missions, the Concordat had encountered countless negotiation tactics, but always within a predictable framework of eventual acceptance. This complete deviation from expected responses suggested something more fundamental. We must report this anomaly to the High Council immediately, he decided, his bioluminescence settling into patterns of formal resolution. Humanity represents an unprecedented case. Meanwhile, in the secured underground levels beneath the United Nations complex, Earth's leadership convened their own assessment meeting. Secretary General Okafor studied the 3-dimensional renderings of the Concordat ship still orbiting their planet. They're confused, noted Defense Minister Chen, reviewing real-time data from Earth's monitoring systems. Their communications have increased by 300% since returning to their vessel. Dr. Rice, Earth's leading xenoanthropologist, smiled slightly. As we predicted, their entire integration model relies on species being overwhelmed by their technological offerings and cultural prestige. They have no protocol for rejection. Secretary General Okafor nodded thoughtfully. The Avalon Protocol remains our best approach. Limited engagement while we assess their true intentions. Commander Nakamura's expression remained serious. The technology they displayed matches our intelligence estimates. Advanced, certainly, but with concerning standardization across member species. Their cultural artifacts showed similar patterns, technically impressive, but lacking certain creative dimensions. Most telling was what they didn't offer, added Dr. O.C., tapping through data on his tablet. No explanation of their governance structures. No details about how newly integrated species transition from independence to membership. No clear picture of how decisions are made within their hierarchy. Okafor turned to face the assembled leadership team. We maintain our position, then, open to cultural and scientific exchange, but preserving our independence until we fully understand what membership truly means for humanity. As she spoke, encrypted messages were already being transmitted to Earth's off-world colonies and research stations throughout the solar system. The message was simple: proceed with the Avalon Protocol. Accelerate key technological initiatives. Prepare contingencies for all projected Concordat responses. Above them, Ambassador Exeltorix prepared his report to the High Council, unaware that humanity's rejection wasn't just an unexpected diplomatic response. It was the first move in a carefully considered strategy developed years before the Concordat had even arrived. Commander Nakamura escorted the Concordat delegation through the airlock and back to their shuttle, maintaining his polite smile despite the tension vibrating between them. Technology Minister Krillvox's tentacles remained tightly coiled in what the human intelligence briefings identified as an expression of extreme agitation. "Please understand," Nakamura said as they reached the departure bay, "that we deeply value this opportunity for exchange. Our medical teams are particularly interested in discussing the regenerative protocols you've offered." Krillvox's upper eye membrane twitched. "Commander, your species confounds understanding. You acknowledge the superiority of our medical technology, yet refuse comprehensive integration. The efficiency loss is disturbing." Nakamura nodded thoughtfully. "Different species measure value differently, Minister. Efficiency isn't always humanity's primary concern." The Concordat representatives exchanged glances through their various sensory organs, a silent communication that human observers noted but couldn't interpret. Finally, the minister extended a data crystal. "This contains the medical information your council requested. Consider it a gesture of continued diplomatic engagement." After the shuttle departed, Nakamura entered a sealed chamber deep within the orbital station, where Dr. Eliza Kahlo, Earth's foremost expert in xenotechnology, waited with her team. "They provided the medical data," he announced, placing the crystal in a containment field, exactly as anticipated. Dr. Kahlo's dark eyes sparkled with professional excitement. "And their reaction to our counterproposal?" Complete bewilderment, Nakamura confirmed, removing his formal jacket. "They cannot comprehend why we choose a longer developmental path when they're offering shortcuts." The crystal underwent multiple scanning procedures before Dr. Kahlo transferred its contents to an isolated system. The team gathered around as information materialized in three-dimensional projections, cellular regeneration techniques, neural pathway restoration, and genetic repair mechanisms far beyond Earth's current capabilities. "Impressive," murmured Dr. Kahlo, manipulating the display to examine molecular structures. "But consistent with our theoretical models. Nothing that fundamentally contradicts our research directions." "What they've shown matches our Mobius project projections," agreed her colleague, Dr. Singh. "We'd have reached similar conclusions within 20 years. Nakamura studied the biological simulations with thoughtful intensity. "The question remains, what are they sharing? This technology is advanced, but not revolutionary. Where are the true breakthroughs that must underpin a 5-million-year-old civilization?" Meanwhile, aboard the Concordat diplomatic vessel returning to their regional headquarters, Technology Minister Krillvox presented his findings to Senior Ambassador HFY Torix. The chamber's adaptive environment had been calibrated to accommodate the biological needs of 6 different species, creating a unique atmospheric blend that would have been toxic to humans. "Their rejection makes no logical sense," Krillvox insisted, manipulating the display to show human technological progression curves. "I offered them cellular immortality, zero-point energy, and matter transmission. They requested only basic medical applications while continuing their inefficient research paths." Ambassador HFY Torix's bioluminescence pulsed in patterns indicating deep contemplation. "What did your empathic analysis detect during the meeting?" "That's the most concerning element," the minister admitted. "No fear, no awe. The humans examined our technology with professional curiosity rather than the expected reverence. When I demonstrated the quantum entanglement communicator, their scientist whispered something to Commander Nakamura that caused him to smile." The ambassador's coloration darkened. "Did your translators catch what was said?" "Only partially. Something about parallel development and confirmation of approach." Krillvox's appendages twisted in agitation. "Ambassador, I believe the humans may be more technologically advanced than our intelligence suggested. Their development appears uneven, primitive in some areas, while surprisingly sophisticated in others. The ship's sentient navigation system interrupted with an alert. Anomalous energy signature detected from Earth's lunar installation. Scanning patterns suggest quantum observatory activation. The ambassador and minister exchanged alarmed glances. Quantum observation technology should be centuries beyond human capability. More disturbing still was the implication. Earth was watching them through subspace, tracking their movements even after they engaged stealth protocols. Accelerate our return to headquarters, HFY Stories commanded. The High Council must be informed immediately. Humanity is not what we assumed. As the Concordat delegation departed the lunar outpost, Dr. Elena Reyes activated the secure quantum link to Earth. Secretary General Okafor's holographic form materialized in the conference room, her expression expectant. They reacted exactly as predicted to our asteroid mining revelation, Dr. Rice reported, manipulating the room's display to show recordings of the aliens' micro-expressions. Complete shock followed by poorly concealed reassessment. Okafor nodded thoughtfully. And the minerals they offered. Dr. Reyes gestured to a sealed container where the iridescent samples gleamed under secure containment fields. Our analysis confirms they're precisely what they appear to be, exceptionally rare elements with remarkable properties. The crystalline structure of this particular specimen could revolutionize our quantum computing systems. Yet they offered these treasures for a seemingly modest concession. Monitoring stations throughout our system, noted Okafor. Modest in appearance only, Dr. Rice countered, bringing up schematics of the proposed Concordat installations. Our technical team identified embedded capabilities far beyond simple monitoring. These stations would establish a subspace field network capable of tracking every vessel in our system, potentially interfering with our navigational systems, and, most concerning, establishing quantum entanglement with our communication networks. Okafor's expression hardened. Surveillance and potential control mechanisms disguised as gifts. This confirms our earlier assessments of their methodology. Dr. Reyes nodded, her dark eyes serious. This is consistent with what we've observed in their interactions with other emerging species. The Concordat's integration protocol follows a consistent pattern. Identify resource vulnerabilities, offer seemingly generous solutions, then establish monitoring systems that slowly evolve into control mechanisms. What was their reaction to your counterproposal for joint scientific missions? Initial confusion followed by reluctant consideration, Dr. Reyes replied. Their negotiation parameters clearly don't account for species who prioritize independence over resource acquisition. Ambassador HFY Stories attempted 3 different approaches to reframe the monitoring stations as purely beneficial before accepting that we wouldn't budge on system sovereignty. Meanwhile, aboard the Concordat vessel returning to their regional headquarters, resource allocation specialist Frenthal was undergoing intense questioning from the ship's senior staff. Explain again how humans could have developed asteroid mining capabilities of this sophistication without our detection, demanded Security Director Onmera, her exoskeletal plates clicking in agitation. Vrenfal's eye stalks drooped in discomfort. The orbital facilities Dr. Reyes displayed show refinement technologies that should be at least 50 years beyond their current development stage. More concerning still is that they've apparently been operational for months while our surveillance detected nothing. Ambassador HFY Stories, who had been silently observing, finally spoke. This represents the 3rd major intelligence failure regarding human capabilities. First, their diplomatic response, then their technological development, and now their resource acquisition programs. Their stealth technology must be exceptional, noted Science Officer Zivnera. Or our intelligence gathering has been deliberately misdirected, finished the ambassador, his bioluminescence pulsing with patterns indicating deep concern. The implications are troubling. If humans can conceal major industrial operations from our most sophisticated detection systems, what else might they be hiding? Security Director Onmera manipulated the ship's data display. I've authorized a comprehensive review of all human space activities for the past 5 years. Preliminary findings suggest inconsistencies that warrant further investigation. The display showed an enlarged image of one section of the human asteroid processing facility. In the background, barely visible, was a vessel of unfamiliar configuration docked with the station. This ship matches no known human design parameters, Mera noted, yet it appears fully integrated with their systems. Ambassador Exeltorix studied the image with growing alarm. Are you suggesting humans have contacted other non-Concordat species? The evidence remains inconclusive, the security director admitted. But this vessel shares certain characteristics with unconfirmed sightings from the Antares sector, a region where we've detected anomalous activities for the past century. The implications silenced the chamber. If humanity had already established relations with other independent species beyond Concordat control, the carefully maintained galactic order faced an unprecedented challenge. Our approach to Earth requires fundamental reconsideration, Ambassador Exeltorix finally stated. The High Council must be informed that we may be dealing with something entirely new, a species that has somehow anticipated our integration protocols before we even arrived. Admiral Calvex watched General Wong's shuttle depart, his compound eyes tracking its trajectory with military precision. The human vessel executed a series of unnecessary but impressive maneuvers before accelerating toward Earth, displaying remarkable agility. Your assessment, Tactical Director, the Admiral inquired, turning to his second-in-command. Tactical Director Mevlok's carapace shifted colors as she organized her thoughts. The human's response defies conventional strategic logic, Admiral. They'd witnessed our fleet's capacity to obliterate planetary bodies, yet displayed neither appropriate fear nor appropriate respect. General Wong seemed more curious than impressed. Agreed Fleet Intelligence Officer Trexinar. She asked detailed questions about our weapon systems that appeared casual but revealed sophisticated military understanding. The Admiral clicked his mandibles in contemplation. And these modest defensive capabilities they showed us. Too modest, Trexinar responded without hesitation. Our scans detect energy signatures throughout their system inconsistent with the technology they displayed. Either their defensive grid operates on principles unfamiliar to us, or what they showed was deliberately misleading. The Admiral studied the small replica sword General Wong had presented as a parting gift. The craftsmanship was impressive, each detail of the ancient Earth weapon perfectly rendered in miniature. She said their ancestors believed in knowing when to use strength and when to withhold it, a philosophy of strategic restraint, yet delivered by their highest military authority. A warning, perhaps, suggested Mevlok. Or a test to see how we interpret it, countered Trexinar. I find it telling that they agreed to our demonstration on Saturn's moon without hesitation, almost as if they already knew what our weapons could do, finished the Admiral, his tone sharpening. Initiate deep space scanning protocols. Focus on Earth's Lagrange points and the outer system boundaries. Meanwhile, in the secure command center beneath Earth's Pacific military complex, General Maya Wong replayed the Concordat weapons demonstration for the assembled defense leadership. The gathered officers watched in silence as the alien weaponry reduced the small Saturnian moon to cosmic debris. Impressive but expected, General Wong concluded as the recording ended. The energy signatures match our theoretical models, devastating against stationary targets, but the particle beam dispersion suggests potential vulnerabilities against distributed kinetic defense systems. Defense Minister Chen leaned forward, their reaction to our displayed capabilities. Professional curiosity with underlying concern, Wong replied. They clearly expected us to be intimidated by their show of force. When that failed, they seemed unsure how to proceed. She activated a different display, showing the Concordat fleet's current position. They're now conducting deep space scans focused on our system's strategic points. Looking for what we didn't show them, noted Admiral Rodriguez with a tight smile. The phantom grid remains undetected. Completely, confirmed the Quantum Systems Director. The interdiction field is functioning perfectly. Their scans will detect only what we want them to see. Defense Minister Chen nodded with satisfaction. and your assessment of their true capabilities, General. Formidable but predictable, Wong answered without hesitation. Their weapons technology is advanced, but their tactical thinking shows signs of stagnation. They rely on overwhelming force rather than innovation. Most significantly, they seem genuinely unable to conceive that a younger species might approach military strategy differently than they do. The Avalon Protocol's military component remains our best approach, then, concluded Chen. Continue with Strategic Ambiguity Phase 3. Let them see glimpses of our capabilities without revealing our full defensive posture. There's something else worth noting, General Wong added, bringing up a new display showing energy analysis of the Concordat fleet. Their ships operate on unified principles despite apparent design differences. Common power signatures, identical weaponry, standardized propulsion. Suggesting what? Asked Admiral Rodriguez. That despite representing 37 supposedly distinct species, their military technology shows none of the variation we'd expect from truly independent development. It's as if all Concordat members ultimately adopt identical military systems, despite their different evolutionary backgrounds, finished the defense minister, her expression grave, which supports our theory that Concordat integration gradually eliminates distinctive development paths in favor of standardization. Precisely, confirmed Wong. Their technological uniformity may be their greatest vulnerability, and our decision to maintain independent development may be our greatest strength. Minister Jianhong Liu departed the central gallery of the Grand Exhibition Station, trailed by increasingly perplexed Concordat cultural officials. Cultural Director Thelaven's ornate headcrest remained flattened in what Liu's briefings had identified as an expression of deep confusion. Minister Liu. Thelaven attempted once more as they entered the observation lounge overlooking the spectacular nebula beyond. Perhaps I failed to properly convey the prestige of this invitation. No non-member species has ever been offered exhibition space in the 5,000-year history of this event. Liu accepted a beverage from a hovering service drone, his expression thoughtful as he gazed at the swirling cosmic gases. The honor is understood and appreciated, Director. Our objection isn't to participation, but to the format. Static displays cannot capture the essence of human artistic expression. But the unpredictability of live creation. Thelaven's voice trailed off, her translator struggling to convey concepts apparently difficult to express in human language, is precisely what gives our art its vitality. Liu finished with a gentle smile. He activated a small holographic projector, displaying footage from Earth's interactive art installations, musicians improvising with audience members, digital artists creating works guided by biofeedback from viewers, sculptures that evolved based on environmental interactions. Thelaven and her assistants watched in what appeared to be growing discomfort. This level of spontaneity introduces too many variables, she finally said. How can excellence be assured without careful preparation and curation? We measure excellence differently, Liu explained. The capacity to create in the moment, to adapt to unexpected inputs, to collaborate across boundaries. These are what we value most in artistic expression. Later, aboard the diplomatic shuttle returning to Earth, Liu connected with the Cultural Advisory Council. The holographic faces of leading artists, musicians, and creative directors materialized around the cabin. Their reaction was exactly as we anticipated, Liu reported. Complete bewilderment at the concept of improvisational and collaborative creation. Maya Okafor, the Secretary General's sister and head of the Global Arts Initiative, leaned forward. Were they at least interested in our approach? Interested but deeply uncomfortable, Liu confirmed. Their entire artistic framework is built around perfection and permanence. The idea of art as an evolving participatory experience seems to violate some fundamental Concordat principle. Did you observe the same standardization patterns we've detected in their other cultural expressions? Asked Dr. Annika Sen, Earth's leading xenocultural analyst. Liu nodded. Despite superficial aesthetic differences, all their displayed works followed identical structural patterns, mathematical precision, predictable emotional responses, perfect technical execution without deviation. Different species producing art that appears distinct but operates on identical underlying principles. Just like their technology and military systems, noted Dr. Senator, further supporting our integration equals standardization theory. There was one unexpected development. Liu added, bringing up footage of his departure from the station. Several younger Concordat representatives approached me privately with questions about human creative processes. One even asked if they might visit Earth to experience our chaotic creation methods firsthand. Maya Okafer's eyes widened, the first cracks in their unified facade. Meanwhile, aboard the Grand Exhibition Station, Cultural Director Thelaven presented her findings to the Concordat Oversight Committee. The chamber's atmosphere had been adjusted to accommodate the neurological patterns of the attending officials, creating a consensus-enhancing harmonic field. The human approach to cultural expression represents a fundamental philosophical divergence from Concordat principles, she explained, displaying recordings of the meeting with Minister Liu. They prioritize unpredictability, spontaneity, and audience participation over perfection and preservation. Senior Overseer Sinvex, one of the oldest living members of the Concordat leadership, activated his communication node. Your assessment of the security implications. Potentially severe, Thelaven admitted. Their approach to art mirrors their approach to diplomacy, technology, and military strategy. They deliberately introduce variables and embrace uncertainty rather than seeking optimal standardization. More concerning still, added cultural analyst Pelthovis, 3 of our junior representatives have requested permission to study human creative methodologies. This unprecedented interest in non-standardized approaches could destabilize our carefully calibrated cultural integration systems. The senior overseer's bioluminescent patterns darkened. This confirms our growing concern. Humanity doesn't merely reject our offers, they represent an existential challenge to our fundamental values. Their elevation of chaos over order, diversity over standardization, and process over perfection contradicts the very foundations of Concordat civilization. Yet their techniques produce results we cannot easily dismiss, noted another committee member, displaying comparative analyses of human artistic impact metrics. Their chaotic methods generate emotional and intellectual responses that our perfected approaches sometimes fail to achieve. The unspoken implication hung in the air between them. For the first time in millennia, the Concordat faced a species that didn't merely offer a different path, but potentially a better one. Dr. Kwame Osei returned to the Europa Research Outpost after his meeting aboard the Concordat vessel, his expression thoughtful as he removed his environmental suit. The assembled scientific team waited expectantly in the conference room excavated from the moon's ice crust, holographic displays showing real-time analysis of the Concordat ship still orbiting above. Their reaction to our counter-proposal was illuminating. Osei began, accepting a steaming cup of coffee from his assistant. When I expressed interest in their unexplained phenomena rather than their established knowledge, Chief Scientist Nex Morat displayed physiological indicators of extreme discomfort. Consistent with our predictions, noted Dr. Miyazaki, the quantum physics lead. Their entire scientific framework appears built around consensus and completion, rather than exploration and questioning. Dr. Osei nodded, activating the room's central display to show the interaction. More revealing still was their response when I shared our alternative theoretical approaches. The recording showed 3 Concordat scientists exchanging alarmed glances as they reviewed Earth's papers on dimensional physics. They recognized our models immediately, but as approaches their civilization had abandoned centuries ago. Abandoned or suppressed? Asked Dr. Rivera, leaning forward intently. That's the fascinating question, replied Osei. Their neural patterns showed recognition followed by confusion. One scientist, this crystalline entity here, actually began discussing potential applications before being silenced by the chief scientist. Dr. Miyazaki's eyes widened, suggesting these research paths might have been institutionally discouraged rather than scientifically disproven. Precisely, confirmed Osei. When I inquired about their quantum bifurcation experiments, they claimed such research had reached theoretical limits millennia ago. Yet their database showed no actual experimental data supporting this conclusion, only consensus statements from their scientific directorate. Meanwhile, aboard the Concordat scientific vessel, Chief Scientist Nex Mora faced intense questioning from the High Council's Scientific Oversight Committee. The secure quantum communication channel hummed with tension as ancient beings from across the galaxy demanded explanations. The humans' theoretical approach to dimensional resonance should have been impossible, Nex Mora insisted, manipulating displays to show comparative analyses. These mathematical models were evaluated and discarded during our fourth scientific reformation. The probability calculations clearly demonstrated their unviability. Yet the human formulations appear to circumvent the Torvalian uncertainty principle entirely, noted Oversight Director Genvar, her energy form pulsing with patterns indicating deep concern. Their approach bypasses assumptions our mathematics has treated as foundational for millennia. Nex Mora's appendages twisted in agitation. It's a mathematical curiosity at most, an interesting but ultimately unproductive tangent. Then explain this, demanded another committee member, displaying quantum readings from Earth's lunar observatories. Their facilities are actively generating quantum entanglement fields using principles our science declared theoretically impossible. The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. The Concordat scientific certainties, the bedrock of their technological superiority, faced a fundamental challenge from a species barely a millennium into its technological development. There's worse, added junior scientist Krell-Pax, speaking hesitantly. I've analyzed their proposal for joint research into unexplained cosmic phenomena. Their methodology suggests they're already aware of the Antares anomaly. The committee members exchanged alarmed glances. The Antares anomaly, a region of space where fundamental physical laws appeared to fluctuate unpredictably, had been classified at the highest security level for over 20,000 years. Impossible, declared Nex Mora. That information is restricted even within the Concordat. Yet their research proposal includes parameters specifically calibrated to measure exactly such fluctuations, insisted Krell-Pax. Either they've independently discovered the anomaly, or the unspoken alternative hung in the air. Humanity somehow had access to Concordat secrets. Back on Europa, Dr. Osei continued his briefing. Most significant was their reaction when I mentioned the unusual readings our Deep Space Observatory detected near Antares. He displayed a recording showing Chief Scientist Nex Mora's sudden physical stillness, what xenobiologists had identified as the species' involuntary shock response. So the Antares data is as significant as we suspected, Dr. Rivera concluded with quiet satisfaction. Dr. Osei nodded. They're hiding something profound there. Something that contradicts their established scientific models. He gazed at the star field visible through Europa's ice crystal viewport. And whatever it is, they're terrified that we found it independently. Which suggests our alternative scientific approach may eventually surpass theirs, Dr. Miyazaki observed. Their rigid consensus model versus our exploratory framework. Science thrives on questions, not answers, Dr. Osei said softly, echoing Earth's centuries-old scientific motto. And it seems the Concordat has forgotten how to question. The Concordat High Council chamber descended into unprecedented disorder. Representatives from 37 species, some appearing as physical entities, others as energy patterns or holographic projections, abandoned normal protocols as they spoke over one another in growing alarm. Order, demanded High Counselor Ventrix, his crystalline form resonating at frequencies designed to command attention. We must address this crisis with rationality, not panic. Gradually, the chamber quieted. Ambassador Gexel Torix, recalled from the Earth mission, stood at the center of the assembly. His once brilliant bioluminescence appeared dimmed by exhaustion after weeks of emergency sessions. The situation continues to deteriorate, he reported, activating the chamber's central display. 17 emerging spacefaring civilizations have now rejected our standard integration protocols. All cite what they call the Earth model of limited engagement while maintaining sovereignty. How are they even communicating with each other? Demanded Security Director Mulvin. None possess long-range, faster-than-light communication technology. Evidence suggests they're using courier vessels, replied HFY Story. Primitive but effective. More concerning is that they appear to be sharing detailed analyses of our previous integration operations with other species. The implications silenced the chamber. For millennia, the Concordat had approached each emerging civilization as an isolated case, carefully controlling information flow between integration processes. There's worse, continued HFY Story reluctantly. We've detected increased communication between human representatives and reform movements within Concordat member worlds. Younger generations on 12 established members have begun questioning fundamental Concordat principles. High Counselor Ventrix's crystalline facets darkened. This represents an existential threat to galactic stability. Humanity has somehow transformed from a simple integration challenge to a philosophical contagion spreading across known space. We must contain this immediately, insisted Military Director Krulfor. A decisive show of force would likely backfire dramatically, interrupted Ambassador HFY Story. Our intelligence now indicates Earth possesses defensive capabilities far beyond our initial estimates. More importantly, military action would only validate the concerns about Concordat methods that humans have been sharing with other species. The Council fell silent as the full complexity of their predicament became clear. For the first time in living memory, the Concordat faced a problem that could not be solved through their standard protocols of overwhelming technological superiority or controlled integration. We have no choice, High Counselor Ventrix finally declared. Prepare the sovereign delegation. For the first time in Concordat history, all 37 sovereign representatives will personally travel to a non-member world. Meanwhile, in the underground diplomatic complex beneath the United Nations headquarters, Secretary General Okafor received reports from across human space and beyond. Holographic displays showed diplomatic, scientific, and cultural exchanges between Earth and dozens of other worlds, some within Concordat space, others in unexplored regions. The Concordat's regional headquarters near Proxima Centauri has gone into emergency lockdown, reported Intelligence Director Cheng. Our sources indicate they're preparing for an unprecedented diplomatic mission, all sovereign representatives traveling here together. Okafor nodded calmly. Phase 3 of the Avalon Protocol proceeds exactly as projected. How are our discussions with the Antares Coalition developing? Exceptionally well, replied Ambassador Rodriguez. Their representatives were initially skeptical, but after reviewing our scientific data on the Antares anomaly, they've agreed to full partnership in the network. And they've confirmed the Concordat has been actively suppressing investigation into the anomaly for millennia, added Dr. Osei. Apparently, it represents a fundamental challenge to their unified physics model. Most significant, continued Ambassador Rodriguez, is that 5 Concordat member species have secretly reached out through Antares intermediaries, expressing interest in the network's alternative organizational structure. Okafor turned to the window overlooking New York Harbor, her expression thoughtful. So the Concordat faces pressure both externally and internally. Their absolute authority questioned for the first time in 50,000 years. They're preparing their most impressive offer yet, noted Intelligence Director Cheng. Our sources suggest they'll propose unprecedented concessions, full membership with exceptional autonomy, multiple council seats, access to all Concordat resources, all while maintaining their fundamental hierarchical integration model, Okafor observed. They still don't understand that our objection isn't to their specific terms, but to their entire philosophical framework. The assembled leadership team watched as a notification appeared. The Concordat sovereign delegation had entered the solar system. Preparations for the network announcement are complete, confirmed Ambassador Rodriguez. 23 independent worlds have formalized their participation, plus the confidential expressions of interest from within the Concordat. Secretary General Okafor straightened her shoulders. Humanity never sought to challenge the existing galactic order, she said quietly. We simply asked questions no one had posed in millennia, and discovered that countless others across the galaxy had been waiting for someone to ask them. The diplomatic chamber beneath the United Nations complex radiated with energies rarely experienced on Earth. The sovereign representatives of the Concordat, the oldest and most powerful beings in known space, had arranged themselves in a perfect circle, each manifesting in forms comprehensible to human perception, while maintaining their true essence. Secretary General Okafor stood calmly at the center of this gathering of ancient power. To the assembled observers, the contrast seemed almost absurd. A single human woman facing beings who had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, some who had lived for millennia before humans had discovered fire. The Grand Sovereign of Arcturus, oldest of all Concordat members, spoke first. His voice resonated simultaneously on multiple frequencies, translated into perfect human language. Humanity, the being intoned, we recognize the uniqueness of your species. After careful deliberation, the Concordat offers what has never been extended in our history: full membership with complete developmental autonomy, multiple permanent seats on the High Council, and unfiltered access to all Concordat resources and knowledge. The chamber fell silent. Even seasoned diplomats held their breath, recognizing this as the most generous offer the Concordat had extended to any species in 50,000 years of galactic history. Secretary General Okafor inclined her head respectfully. The Concordat honors Earth with this unprecedented proposal. We recognize the significance of your willingness to adapt your traditional approaches. The sovereign representative's ethereal forms brightened, anticipating the acceptance that must surely follow such concessions. However, Okafor continued, her voice steady. Earth has chosen a different path forward, one that we believe may benefit all species, including those within the Concordat. She activated the chamber's central display, revealing a complex network of connections between Earth and worlds throughout the galaxy. Unlike the Concordat's hierarchical structure, this network showed no central authority, only interconnected nodes of varying sizes and configurations. We call it simply the network, she explained. An association based on full sovereignty, collaborative advancement, and genuine diversity of development. Neither Earth nor any other world stands at its center. All members maintain their unique evolutionary and cultural paths while benefiting from mutual exchange. The representatives' forms flickered with patterns that human xenologists had learned to recognize as profound shock. 23 independent worlds have already formalized their participation, Okafor continued, including civilizations from regions even the Concordat has not yet reached. She paused, then delivered the final revelation. Additionally, representatives from 7 current Concordat member worlds have expressed interest in this alternative approach. They remain unnamed to protect their sovereignty, but their contributions have already enriched our collective understanding. The chamber's energy shifted dramatically as the representatives communicated in frequencies beyond human perception. Some manifestations grew brighter, others dimmed, creating patterns of discord never before witnessed in Concordat proceedings. Ambassador Xel Torix, positioned slightly apart from the sovereign circle, watched this unprecedented division with growing understanding. In his centuries of diplomatic service, he had never witnessed the Concordat's unity fracture so visibly. After what seemed an eternity, the Grand Sovereign spoke again, his multi-frequency voice noticeably less harmonic. This network represents a fundamental challenge to principles that have maintained galactic stability for millions of years. The Concordat cannot endorse such disruption. We seek neither endorsement nor opposition, Okafor responded gently. The network exists as an alternative, not a replacement. Any civilization, including the Concordat itself, is welcome to engage with us while maintaining its own identity and values. As the sovereign representatives withdrew to consider this response, Ambassador Xel Torix remained behind. His once brilliant bioluminescence had shifted to patterns indicating deep philosophical contemplation. "You knew from the beginning," he said quietly to Okafor when they were alone. "Even before our first contact, humanity had anticipated not just our offers, but our entire integration methodology." Okafor smiled slightly. "We discovered something remarkable while developing our first faster-than-light communications. Quantum resonance patterns from across the galaxy, whispers of discontent from dozens of worlds, including those within the Concordat. We simply listened when no one else would, and created a completely different model of galactic cooperation." Celtorix observed, his patterns shifting to indicate something humans had never seen from a Concordat representative before: genuine curiosity. Not hierarchical integration, but horizontal connection. Not standardization, but celebration of diversity. "The future of space is too vast for a single approach," Okafor replied. "The universe contains too much wonder for any one civilization, or coalition, to determine the correct path for all." For the first time in his long existence, Ambassador Celtorix faced a paradigm he had never considered possible. "I request permission to observe network operations directly," he said finally. "There are others within the Concordat who might benefit from understanding this alternative." 3 months later, the historic first conference between Concordat reformists and network representatives convened on Earth's orbital diplomatic station. As delegates from 100 worlds shared ideas that would have been impossible under traditional Concordat protocols, Secretary General Okafor and Ambassador Celtorix, now leading the progressive faction, watched from the observation deck. "You know," Okafor confided, "we would have joined you eventually. We just needed to ensure we could change you as much as you changed us." Celtorix's bioluminescence formed patterns indicating wry amusement. "We feared your rejection, only to discover it was actually an invitation to something better." Below them, Earth rotated serenely against the blackness of space, a world that had transformed galactic civilization not through conquest or technological superiority, but by simply asking if there might be another way forward for all sentient beings. The rejection that galactic leaders had feared had become the evolution they needed.